Exactly. And one of the techniques that I actually like to use for an ankle injury, for example, you actually use the mechanism of the injury as the method of strengthening for it. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I'll take, just a plate with a board that goes over the top of it, put them at an angle. Most ankle injuries are rolling to the outside. So you kind of put them at a little bit of a decline and then force them to do single leg squats with a little bit of a toe raise on that. And you're really going to stimulate the muscles that are weak, that weren't working properly in the first place, that allowed that injury. So I've had really good success with a lot of my ankle athletes, a lot of my ACLs, hip back, with that type of modality of exercise. So improper mechanics and posture, I think that posture is probably what causes a large percentage of the ailments that Doc probably sees. As a society, as we do more sit-down work, more computer work, our postures are greatly challenged. The body wasn't made to sit really well, as you guys are all sitting here, but as far as spinal health and things of that nature, we really want the body moving in a three-dimensional capacity. If you're just sitting there, that's one of the worst things that you can do for it. So posture is a very big component with any exercise that I try to get my clients to do. If you're training with improper posture and improper mechanics, it can really compound any current injuries that you have. Or conversely, if you change that posture and that mechanic, all of a sudden, oh yeah, that feels a lot better, And so for a lot of people, it's just constant reminding. I like Lance Armstrong too, and I tell my clients get one of those Lance Armstrong bracelets. Every time you see that, think, is my posture up? Are my shoulders back? Am I in the right alignment that I need to be into to be able to work more effectively? And after a week of doing that, it becomes more natural to them, and they're actually going to start feeling less pain in the neck, shoulders, whatever their ailment is. So I think that another big problem that a lot of people have is they try to do too much weight with poor mechanics, but for guys it's a macho mentality, I think. I worked at a fitness facility in Chicago, and I saw this guy come in every day, grab 50-pound dumbbells, and boom, use his leg to throw the dumbbell up when he was doing dumbbell curls. And I was just like, one day I went up to him, I'm like, why are you doing it that way, I'm like, he's like, oh, it makes my guns bigger. And I'm like, no, it actually doesn't. You're actually going to hurt yourself if you continue to do that. So I think from getting a standpoint of starting up an exercise program, focus on quality more than quantity. The better the quality, the more effective the exercise is going to be for you. You'll probably feel it more, but that's the idea. You don't want to do exercise and not feel the benefits of it. So yeah, and the other thing too is don't try to push too many reps, too many sets. Like Doc says, it's get started, small intervals, build up, and you're going to start seeing some pretty big gains within the first 2 to 3 weeks. So, I think that if you guys can apply these components, it'll help you with your exercises. But hopefully, you guys are all doing that anyway, right? Okay. All right. Thank you,
John. Thanks so much. Yes. Got a lot to chew on. I would love in the question and answer afterwards for John to cover exercise of weight loss versus exercise of getting stronger and more fit, and how does it look different? So if we could go through that. Where's my pointer? Okay. So really at the center of every athlete is the core. Let's say You're a soccer player, professional soccer player. You've got all these fancy footwork, all the exercises. You keep on spraining your ankle, most common malady of soccer. Where lies the problem? Is it the shoe? Is it weak muscles? Probably, to some degree. Number one problem with sprained ankles is weakness of the core. Well, how could that be? It's because the core stabilizes the pelvis, which controls the angle of the hips, which affects how the knees align over the ankles. Proper signals neurologically are no longer coming in because everything is under stress. The mechanics are all goofy, misaligned, and you're going to be much more prone to spraining your ankles. How about chronic knee issues? Is it the shoes? Probably. Is it weakness of the quads versus the hamstrings? Probably. But mostly it's the core. Again, it's not stabilizing things. Most injuries, we can trace wrist injuries, we can trace elbow, shoulder injuries to a lack of proper core strength. And this is a very controversial topic because core, this person has this way of doing it, that person has that way of doing it. There's many ways to do it wrong. Dr. Stacey will hopefully demonstrate how to do it right away. Again, it doesn't mean that any other ones are wrong. We're just going to demonstrate one way that we know works best. I was involved at the graduate level in a biomechanics lab where we were writing a paper, a study, on what is the best way to do a sit-up. And we did this with electrodes all along here, figure out which muscles recruit and which ones didn't. And you know, the way that we were going to show you is the one that we found created the best recruitment of all the muscles that you need for strengthening. So pay close attention to that. The core is absolutely critical for any athletic performance. So stretching is huge also. When I first moved over here, I was a little bit shocked by how little stretching Americans do. It's an afterthought. And you know what? Flexibility is just as important as strength, as speed of contraction. What use is it if you're very powerful, you got lots of muscle strength, but no flexibility? You're going to be a bulldozer. Yeah, you can't hardly move. You don't want that. My first practice, I had a few of these guys, aging hippies, we call them, come in. And I remember so well the first time I saw this, because there's this big guy, you know, a bit of a gut, but just huge muscles, obviously into weightlifting. And as John said, big guns. And I said, okay, I do postural analysis. We start there. Okay, here you're standing like this. And I said, okay, straighten up. Yeah, okay, just put your arms straight. Okay, good, arms straight. Okay, now relax. I was absolutely shocked. And so what's going on here? So I had made them repeat it a few times. And what had happened is, back in the 60s, they did such intense weight lifting. The whole beach thing came into being at that point, you know, the muscle thing. But they did absolutely zero stretching, and this poor guy had shortened his muscles. And it was almost beyond stretching at that point. No flexibility. I mean, he could hardly get past his knees as far as doing toe touches. So we had a bit of work to do with this fella. But you know how we approach it, and this is how I want you to approach it, is start stretching after you've warmed up the muscle. Don't do this first thing in the morning in the shower like I hear so many people do. I'm not going to say it's useless, but the muscles are cold. You want to get blood flowing through them, get them warmed up. The most effective stretching that you are going to do is after you've done your exercise. Yeah? Beforehand, it's a good little warm-up. You might want to do it gently. Don't overdo it, because new studies are showing that stretching before an event or before you just go bicycling will weaken the performance of that muscle. You've got to be careful how you stretch a muscle. In fact, some of these studies show that if you go into intense stretching even afterwards, you are weakening the performance of that muscle. So a warmed up muscle, do it smoothly and strongly and hold and then come back. No bouncing, nothing fast. Yeah, and this is especially true as we age. We got to do it slower, because that is one thing that does go, doesn't it? As we age, flexibility goes to some degree. It means we just have to fight harder and work longer at it. Yeah? So the best way to warm up for an exercise is to do that activity just in a lower form.